Hello once again to our YouTube friends. Dana and I, proprietors of this channel called If This Car Could Talk, are excited to bring you the brief history of a chapter in GM history that doesn't get talked about much. The story of the second generation A-body offerings by the team from Flint, Michigan. If you missed our feature car last Sunday, you've got to go back and see it. It's one of the finest examples of this type of car that we have ever seen. Now, let's go for a ride. Although the model name Skylark was first used by Buick in 1953 on an upscale model built to celebrate Buick's 50th anniversary, it carried over to 1954 before taking a brief hiatus until 1961, when the name reappeared on the Buick version of a new line of subcompact models from General Motors. The line included the Buick Special, of which the Skylark was a mid-year, upper trim level model, the Pontiac Tempest, the Oldsmobile F85, and of course, the Chevrolet Corvair. The styling of the 61 Special was strongly influenced by the new corporate look shared with the larger LeSabre, Invicta, and Electra, which was also introduced that same year. For 1962, Buick would begin offering these cars as a two-door hardtop, a convertible, and a station wagon too. All of the other divisions' offerings also followed suit. These models were not as successful as GM had hoped, so in 1964, these cars would all be redesigned on the new A-body chassis, except for the Corvair. The initial A-body cars would debut in 1964 and be seen in GM dealers until the end of the 1967 model year. Unlike the previous models, these A-bodies sold extremely well, especially the Pontiac Le Mans, thanks mostly to the new GTO sub-series models. The 1968 model year was one of significant change for all of the A-body designs at General Motors, especially the Buick Skylark. Although still using the same basic chassis, all of GM's midsize cars now adopted a policy of using two different length wheelbases. Two-door models used a shorter wheelbase of 112 inches, while four-door models used a longer wheelbase of 116 inches. The Buick Sport Wagons and Oldsmobile Vista Cruisers used an even longer wheelbase of 121 inches. Both of these luxurious and sporty-looking wagons would easily be identified by their observation windows, which were integrated into the front portion of the roof, as it would also raise the roof slightly. Both also had decaled wood-grained side trim, as was the usual treatment in Detroit for upscale wagons. Very cool. For 1968, all of GM's midsize cars would receive a total redesign of their sheet metal, trim, interiors, and more. Although they shared many of the same mechanical components, they were distinctly more than a simple rebadging, which Detroit is well known for. Under the hood, the Buick offerings for 1968 were really diverse, from a Chevrolet-supplied inline 250 cubic inch six-cylinder all the way up to a 400 four-barrel that could also be ordered with a Stage 1 upgrade. The package consisting of a higher lift camshaft, a special four-barrel carburetor, true dual exhaust, and a posi-traction rear axle. The 350 engine, available as both a two- or four-barrel carb configuration, was new this year. The previously available V6 engine was discontinued this year, and all of the associated tooling was sold to Kaiser Industries, which would use these lightweight aluminum power plants in their Jeep trucks and sport utility vehicles. Along with many new visual and mechanical upgrades, 1968 would also bring more federally mandated safety features to improve occupant protection and accident avoidance. Things like front and rear side marker lights, parking lights that illuminate when the headlights are on, and front shoulder safety belts for all passenger vehicles built after January 1st of 1968. The Grand Sport, seen previously as an option package available on the Skylark, became a separate series using the two-door Skylark body and chassis. The main players were the GS350, available only as a hardtop, the GS400, which had either a hardtop or was also available as a convertible. In mid-season of 1968, the series was expanded to include the GS California, first seen in 1967, and the GS Colorado, which was new for 1968. Both were based on the Special Deluxe hardtop body, which had a bit different roofline than the traditional A-body hardtop from this year. These special models would not have a convertible as an option. The GS California was available nationwide to any buyer that wanted something a bit more. Buyers in Colorado who wanted to stand out from the crowd got their own model for this year. Both were discontinued after 1969. At the time, Buick touted the GS California as, quote, the distinctive personal car for Americans on the go, unquote, using the Skylark platform. Originally the creation of GM's West Coast manager Mickey Garrett, the GS California became one of Buick's entries into what is now often known as a junior muscle car. Since our feature car last Sunday was a 69 model, here's a chart detailing all of the various models and their production numbers for that year. With these new 1969 cars, Buick completely revised their model lineup for the A-body models. The basic Skylark was now called the Special Deluxe, and it came in 4 body styles. Next up the line was the Skylark, and it came in 2 different body styles. The Skylark Custom came as a 2-door convertible, a 2-door hardtop, a 4-door hardtop, or a 4-door sedan. The GS models were available in 3 basic series, all based on the Special Deluxe hardtop, with the aforementioned GS California and the GS Colorado as sub-series models. Only the GS 400s could be had as a convertible. All of the GS 400 convertibles were built at GM's Fremont, California assembly plant. Finally, the Sport Wagon was available as a 2-seat, 6-passenger model, or a larger capacity 3-seat vehicle for extra people-moving capabilities. Buicks were always considered high-quality cars, second only to Cadillac in the GM hierarchy, and the lineup for 1969 was no different. This year, buyers could choose from 22 different external colors, available either as a single tone or a 2-tone. Many different combinations of 2-tone schemes could be ordered, and with available vinyl tops on many of the Skylarks, even more combinations were seen on the streets of the US by the end of the model year. Along with a huge variety of interior colors and materials, it's easy to think that any car could truly be its buyer's idea of the perfect personalized car. As you'll see in the color chart, many of the paint colors this year had a polymer additive, essentially an ingredient mixed in with the paint as it's applied to a car. It was said to protect the paint from light scratches and chips, plus they appeared to be a bit brighter than their non-poly counterparts. One final note about the 69 GM offerings in all classes is that a locking steering column with a new style rectangular ignition key became standard except on the Corvair, 1 full year ahead of the federal requirement for all 1970 models. If a car was 2 tones from the factory, the cowl plate and the door data label would list the lower colors 2-digit code first, then the upper colors 2-digit paint code would follow. For 1970, the midsize Buicks once again received new sheet metal, and the Buick Skylark name was moved down another notch, replacing the previous entry-level Special Deluxe. Now, all GM A-body 2-door hardtop models shared their roofline with the 1970 Chevy Chevelle. The 400 engine was replaced for 1970 with the all-new 455. In the optional Stage 1 trim, it was rated at 360 horsepower. As with all American engines produced prior to the 1972 model year, these were gross ratings, which are calculated without any accessories or even an exhaust system. In 1972, all American manufacturers were to adopt SAE calculations in the interest of more accurate consumer information. The December 2004 issue of Muscle Car Enthusiast magazine conducted an engine dynamometer test on a freshly rebuilt and well-documented 1970 455 Stage 1 engine. Another dyno test on a 1970 Skylark GS Stage 1 showed 471 gross horsepower, which is more consistent with the engine producing about 300 net horsepower. Here's a link to read more about it. The passion the Buick people have is amazing, and the Mopar guys are just as much so, but they thought the Hemi could never be beat. This challenge is still being talked about today. Buick Grand Sport models would continue to be available as a separate series. The Buick Sport Wagon name was now used on a conventional four-door station wagon that no longer featured an observational glass panel over the cargo area. Due to the late introduction of the GSX, a very special prototype was displayed at the Chicago Motor Show in February of 1970 to test initial consumer reaction. This particular GSX had mother-of-pearl white paint, a special fiberglass and steel ram air hood with unique modified hood scoops, a one-off three-piece rear spoiler, and a prototype front spoiler, along with a custom multicolored leather interior featuring checkerboard black and white X-pattern seats and door panels. It was a huge hit, and production soon started with the factory GSX looking slightly different than the prototype. The GSX did not appear in any Buick standard model catalogs for the year, but a specially issued GSX brochure soon was available. It was a 4-page, full-color, full-sized catalog announcing the new GSX with artist-drawn pictures and specifications. Only 678 GSXs were produced in the second half of the 1970 model year, beginning in March of 1970. Production ceased after less than 3 months, ending in May of 1970. Of the total production run, just 278 cars were equipped with a standard 455, and another 400 buyers wisely selected the optional Stage 1 Performance Package. The GSX Performance and Handling Package was an $1,100 option on the base GS 455. Available in only 2 colors and only in the hardtop body style, a customer could choose either an Apollo white or Saturn yellow paint job. All GSXs had the distinctive full body length black stripe that crossed over the standard equipment rear spoiler and was outlined in red pinstriping. A black front spoiler was actually functional, and a large area of the hood was also black with a hood-mounted tachometer. It's said that Buick engineers really disliked the hood tack because it was actually a Pontiac part. Although a very powerful engine in production form, the Buick 455, including the mighty Stage 1, had problematic engine blocks. All used 2-bolt main bearing caps. The oiling system was undersized for high RPM use, and unusually thin walls in the lifter valleys were prone to cracking. The real magic of the Stage 1 was primarily attributable to its advanced cylinder head design, stunningly high torque numbers, and the relatively high mid-range horsepower they produced. Another reason for their impressive performance is partly due to the light weight of the 455. For 1971, the Skylark soldiered on, with only a few model name shifts and some slight trim and interior revisions. The mighty GSX remained on the option list and was now available in 6 different colors. During 1971 and 72, the GSX package became an option that was available on either Grand Sport. Production dropped in 1971 to only 124, and again to a mere 44 cars in 1972. 1972 would be the final model year for the mid-sized A-body Buick Skylark. During this model year, in the ever-increasing pursuit of emissions and fuel mileage compliance, pollution controls were added to every engine, compression ratios were lowered, every engine had to be able to run on both leaded and unleaded gas, and spark timing was also retarded slightly to reduce emissions. For 1972, the base Buick Skylark used the 350 cubic inch V8 with the 2-barrel Rochester carburetor. Because of the ever-increasing safety, emissions, and fuel mileage requirements put forth by the federal government, every muscle car was now living on borrowed time. When Buick introduced the super rare Stage 2 option as a dealer-installed option package, they did not sell well and were relatively unknown to anyone except hardcore drag racers and other Buick insiders. Although first offered in 1969, the package included a stouter camshaft, tubular headers, a revised intake manifold, high compression forged pistons, hollow push rods, and some calibration changes to the ignition and carburetor. The Stage 2 package's existence was not made public until 1972, when the Stage 2 parts could all be ordered in any combination from your local Buick dealer. For the 1973 model year, the Buick Grand Sports, Skylarks, and Sport Wagons would all be replaced by the new mid-sized Buick Century. Since Centuries were available with the Grand Sport trim, the Grand Sport name was once again reduced to solely being an option package. I'd like to acknowledge a website called Team Buick. We referred to them many times throughout the creation of this video and recommend to anyone interested in Buicks go visit their site. They have detailed specs as to model designations, colors, options, production numbers, and a whole lot more. It's a great resource for any Buick enthusiast. Check them out. Like many cars of the era, production was limited, but many people consider the Buick Skylark models built from 1968 to 1972 as some of the most stylish, comfortable, dependable, and durable cars made by any American manufacturer. Buick's sales slogans at the time still ring true today. Quote, "No wonder Buick owners keep selling Buicks for us," unquote. Or the famous, "Wouldn't you really rather have a Buick?" We know we would. We love this era of Buick, don't you? In the comments, tell us which Buick model is your favorite. Don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, please consider doing so now so you don't miss any of our twice weekly videos. Next Sunday, we'll be bringing you a car that's sure to get every General Motors pony car enthusiast excited. It's a matching numbers, fully restored 1969 Camaro with a 325 horse 396 engine and a 4-speed. Don't miss it. See you then, and be careful out there.